All right. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Walters, and today, well, welcome to my podcast. My podcast name is Mike Talks New York Sports. This is the podcast where we talk about all sports teams in the New York area. Well, today I'm going to be talking about everything New York Knicks related. So, right, I'm going to get into it right now. All right. So obviously today, obviously the New York Knicks, they have had like one of the craziest off seasons this season. Obviously the off season started after last season where they did lose in the playoffs to the Indiana Pacers. Well, I know how that series was. The series was very emotional because I was just watching the broadcast, and it's like, I don't know why it's like the Knicks, they lost a lot of players due to injuries. Because I remember I was watching game 2, and when I saw Brunson go down with injury, I was like, "Oh my god, like, are the Knicks done?" And then it's like, next thing you know, I just see Anunoby just going off, hitting all of his shots, and then second half comes in and it's like Brunson just miraculously comes back from his injury. People were there saying, "Oh, it's like a Willis Reed moment from back in the '80s," and I was just surprised. And but everything just crashed and burned. Like later on in that quarter, it's like Anunoby goes down with a hamstring injury, and I'm like, man, it's like the Knicks just keep on getting injured. Like I just feel like injuries played a big role in them, like, losing in the playoffs last season because it's like, I don't understand. The Knicks, they did lose a lot of players in the regular season, like, they lost Randall, they lost Robinson, like, it just hurt their team by a lot, and it's like, when I was watching the game 7, it's like, once I heard about Brunson breaking his hand, I knew that was the end, so but even though with the injuries, the Knicks, they still gave their opponents a hard time because in the playoffs, they were missing a lot of players and they still gave it their all. Like, I even remember, like, during the game 7, like, the fans, when they knew when the game was over, I liked how the fans, they ended up respecting the players by clapping for them because they know that the injuries were just too much. So it's like, I thank the New York fans for being loyal and not booing when our team was losing. So it's like now, obviously, we just went through the off season. Like the off season was crazy. Like the draft, man, I remember watching the draft. It's like the Knicks, there were rumors of them going up in the draft or going down. It was a lot of trades, like, I remember I was watching the first round, and it's like Knicks had the 25th pick, and I was like, "Oh, are picking up Cal Filipowski from Duke or another player like, Isaiah Collier," but they ended up picking a random dude from France. His name was Pacome Dadier, and it's like, I remember I was watching the program, and I'm like, "Who is he?" Like, "Who is this guy?" And it's like, I look at highlights of him. He's 18 years old. He's a wing and, he has, like, good upside. Yeah, I kinda see why Leon Rose took a stab at this kid because I feel like he just sees his potential, like, maybe in the future, like, if Anunoby leaves the Knicks, like, in the next, like, 5 years, you still have this kid who's, like, in his early 20s who can, like, shine for you. So, I am interested to see how this kid grows. And also in the 2nd round, I was surprised that they picked up Tyler Kolek from Marquette. Tyler Kolek, I remember seeing highlights of him, like, man, I saw highlights of him from his Marquette days. He is actually not a bad point guard, like, he's decent, like, he knows how to set up, like, scoring opportunities for his teammates, and I'm like, maybe he could be a potential, good guard off the bench, or maybe if or when Brunson decides to leave the Knicks, maybe he could potentially be the point guard of the future. we don't know, like, only time will tell. And, well, the draft, obviously, the Knicks, they ended up getting, like, the last couple picks in the draft. Like, I remember, like, I was watching the 2nd round, and I was like, "Man, are the Knicks going to draft Bronny?" Part of me was like, "I don't know," but it was never gonna happen because I saw a tweet where it's like, Rick Rich Paul, he, of course, is the family agent, agent of LeBron James. He was there saying anyone who picks up Bronny would not he's not gonna play for their team. So it's like I already knew Bronny was already gonna be a Laker. So after Bronny got drafted, it's like the Knicks, they drafted, Kevin McCullough Jr. Well, he is someone who I've heard about for a while. Like, he's actually not a bad player. It's like the only reason why he fell all the way down to, like, the late 2nd round is really because he had an injury-riddled season in his last season at I think he was playing for Kansas? Yeah, he played for Kansas, but, he's actually not a bad player. People say he kinda is like a Josh Hart type player, like a defensive wing. He could get the rebounds, like, he's a hustle player, so I'll be interested to see, like, what he does in his 1st year at New York. And also the Knicks ended the draft with well, I don't know who this guy is, but his name is Ariel Hukporti. He is a 6'11" German, center. Like, when the Knicks picked him with the last pick, I was like, "Is this dude gonna be like a draft and stash?" But apparently, they just signed him to a two-way contract, so I know the Knicks, they have problems with the center rotation right now. Yeah, also obviously, free agency was crazy this year. Like, the Knicks, they brought back Anunoby to a 5-year, $212 million deal. Like, mm, that's a lot of money. But, the thing is, he kinda deserves it because when he was playing, every time he played for the Knicks last season, the Knicks, they kinda won most of the time. Like, I think during the regular season, he, the Knicks, they had a record of 20-3, so he kinda has, like, a Linsanity type of, like, impact with the Knicks. Like, it's like every time he plays, he just instantly makes the team better, and that's what I like about him. But the only issue I have with him is his injuries. Like, we don't know, like, I've heard of his time back in Toronto. Like, in Toronto, he would play good stretches and he would just get injured. Like, an issue with him is durability. Like, if he can stay healthy, like, if he can play more than, like, 70 games, maybe the Knicks could potentially be up there with the Celtics. And also another crazy thing about the offseason was the Knicks trading for Mikal Bridges. That trade was surprising because it's like I was like, "The Knicks are never gonna get Mikal Bridges," but obviously, we have a front office that they just be making these unexpected moves, and, well, obviously, the trade package for Mikal Bridges, all they gave up was Bogdanovich, Shake Milton, and well, I don't wanna mess up his name, but I think his name is I think it's Madiki Diakite or whatever. I don't know, it's some weird name, but they also gave up, like, 4 unprotected first rounds and, like, 2 pick swaps. People were saying, "Oh, yeah, this is too much of a big trade package for just 1 player." Well, to be honest, at least in my eyes, I feel like the Knicks, they got a discount for this dude, because in the past, if the Knicks were to, like, trade for McCall, they probably would act Brooklyn would have asked for, like, probably, like, a boatload of picks and multiple players in between, so I just feel like, the Knicks, they won the trade. But, well, obviously, the move to get Bridges, it helps the team because at least right now you have 2 good wing defenders. You got Bridges and you also got Anunoby, but one crazy fact about Bridges is that he is very durable. Like, they say he has not missed a game in years, and that shocks me. Like, I'm like, "Man, he's really the NBA's Iron Man." Like, he just cannot get injured. Like, I am just hoping and praying that the Knicks can potentially make it past the 2nd round, like, having these 2 dudes playing, but also the offseason was it also had some, like, pains as well, like, because obviously the Knicks, they end up losing Isaiah Hartenstein. Hartenstein, he left to go sign a 3-year, like, I don't know, it's like a 3-year, like, $84 million contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Man, the time when I saw it, it's like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "Man, the Knicks season is over." Like, y Hartenstein was really your X factor. Like, when Mitch Robinson went down with injury last season, he had to just take over, and he did his job very well. But it's like, to see him just go and leave Okla to go to Oklahoma, it's like, it hurts. Like, everybody was like, "Oh, yeah, he's like a franchise player for the Knicks. He's not gonna leave the Knicks." But he ended up leaving to basically get more money. Obviously, the Knicks, they had his early bird rights, so the only amount of money they could give to him was a 4-year, $72 million contract. I thought he was gonna be loyal to the Knicks and just sign that, but obviously a lot of factors played in him just signing with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, for example, Oklahoma, you don't have to pay that much taxes, so I understand why he obviously, the cost of living is much more it's much cheaper over there than in New York, so obviously yeah, and obviously, he probably would have had, like, a much more involvement with the offense over there than in New York, 'cause I seen videos of him right now. He's just going all crazy with his dribbling and shooting, so I don't know, I just hope the Knicks beats him when they meet up next year. So, well, now it's like now I'm looking forward to the preseason because right now it's training camp. The Knicks, they made some very interesting additions, like, they've signed Cam Payne, who used to play for Phoenix with Bridges. They also signed Landry Shamet, another player who used to play in Phoenix with Bridges, and they also just recently signed, well, this was a surprise, Marcus Morris, who was indeed a former Knick a couple years ago. Obviously, a lot of people have been saying that Marcus Morris, that signing is very surprising because he was actually the Knicks' leading scorer that season when COVID hit, but the Knicks, they traded him before the NBA went on shutdown to the Clippers, and I remember when they made that trade, I was like, "Why did you give up your best player for just basically nothing?" But that's when I knew the Knicks were tanking that season anyways. But the thing is to have him back as a veteran presence, I feel like it will be good for all the other players on the team, but we don't know if he's making the team anyways because, it's training camp, it's preseason. Like, we don't know who's making the team, but the question right now is, like, who are the Knicks gonna get as a center replacement? Because just recently, we got the news of Mitch Robinson. He is ankle surgery, he had a setback, so and they say he's not gonna be ready until potentially January of next year. That is very devastating news, especially since we just lost Hartenstein. Our only centers right now is really Jericho Sims and Precious Achiuwa. Well, the thing is, Sims, I'm just hoping that he can make that jump because we've seen him for the last, like, 3 seasons. He's just been that typical, like, rim protector slash, he be catching those lobs and stuff, but we haven't seen an evolution with his game, but I've seen clips of him this off season. It's like he's been doing a lot of work with Mike Bibby, like, working on his post game, his shooting. Also, just recently, he's been working with the new New York Knicks assistant coach, I think his name is Mark Bryant, and he has been working on his post game and his defense because an issue with him was that every time he tried to defend the paint, sometimes he would get into foul trouble, and that would, like, help piss off Thibodeau so bad that it's like he would just take him out the rotation altogether. So that's one storyline that I'm trying to look at in during preseason is if Jericho Sims can make that jump. Also, I feel like the Knicks should also go out for, another center because I was looking at the big men schedule. They're gonna be playing against some tough opponents. They're gonna be playing against Wembanyama, Embiid, Giannis, like, Jokic, like, I don't know if those are the players that Sims could play against. Maybe he could have a chance against them, but those dudes, they have a lot of offense and a lot of defense that they can display, so I don't know how the Knicks are gonna tackle that issue, but I heard the Knicks, they're currently looking at options like Nick Richards from the Charlotte Hornets and even DeAndre Ayton from the Trailblazers, but in my eyes, I just feel like the Knicks just need to get, like, a typical center to potentially, like, temporarily fix the center problem because obviously when Mitchell Robinson comes back, we don't know if he's gonna be 100%. Like, we he has history of injuries, like, even when he comes back from injuries, sometimes he just gets injured again, but I feel like I know some people would disagree with me on this, but the only reason why Mitchell Robinson got injured is really because of Embiid. 'Cause I remember last playoff series, Embiid, he pulled Mitchell Robinson's leg midair when he was going for a dunk, and it's like that caused him to injure his ankle. And the thing is, I know people are there saying, "Oh, yeah, because of Embiid's terrible, dirty playing that he did in the playoffs, he got a big contract extension." But, obviously, you shouldn't hate on him for that. What he did clearly was dirty, but obviously, you have to remember he was also carrying his team on an unstable knee as well, but that didn't mean for him to just go and injure another player because you are hurting yourself. So, well, it is crazy, but we just have to accept that as reality. So, well, right now, it's like the Knicks, they are preparing for preseason. Like, I am interested to see how well this new Villanova core does this season. Like, I feel like it's gonna be fireworks. Also, like, Randall coming back from his shoulder injury, like, Randall, man, I just feel like yeah, like, cause I heard that he is potentially going to be he's potentially gonna be like a small ball center, and being a small ball center, I I feel like it can work against certain people, but I don't think it's gonna work all the time because you have to remember that, there are a lot of teams who are gonna be looking at the Knicks this season because obviously the Knicks, they may be the team to beat this season. Well, no disrespect to the Boston Celtics, obviously, yeah, Boston won the championship last year, but I have a feeling if the Knicks were fully healthy last season, they probably would've maybe brought the Celtics to a 7-game series in the conference final. Celtics probably would've came up on top, but the Knicks clearly are the only team in the East that can compete with the Boston Celtics, so I'm just hoping that the Knicks they can finally make it to the finals this season because you basically went all in for Mikal Bridges. You went all in for Anunoby. Yes, you lost Hartenstein, but this is the year where you have to make some noise in the NBA. It's like I just want to see a championship come to New York because New York has not had a championship since '73. It's been over 40 it's been like it's been like over like 50 years, and that's crazy. The Knicks I believe in the Knicks this season, but we don't know, so they have to figure out some stuff right now, but, other than that, I I do see the Knicks making some moves, like, obviously, training camp is gonna determine who makes the team, like, the Knicks currently have 1 more roster spot. Like, obviously, I've been hearing rumors, are the Knicks gonna be using the $5.2 million tax MLE to get a big man? But clearly, there's not a lot of big men out there in the market, like, Knicks currently, right now, they're only The only people in the market they could go for is Bismack Biyombo and JaVale McGee. Well, I don't think they should go after either because Bismack Biyombo, he has, like, injury concerns, and also he's an undersized big. And number 2, JaVale McGee, everybody knows who he is. He is a Shaqtin' a Fool favorites, like, he's been on that thing so many times for his ridiculous court antics. So, I don't think anyone has time for him. So, all I'm just well, all I'm thinking right now is that really the Knicks just have to just play the long game, just be patient because I don't know, like, maybe not even getting a center may actually help the team, like, we don't know because 'cause we've seen it with Golden State, like, Golden State, for example, they had Kevon Looney be their center, and they've managed to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers multiple times in the finals, so you gotta really trust yourselves with the small ball line, like, it's really all just really a matter of luck, so, yeah, well it's really luck. I just hope the Knicks just don't get destroyed by the injury bug. Yeah. Well, obviously, right now, it's like looking at the Knicks well, before I talk a little bit more about the Knicks, I just wanna shout out to a former Knick player who just recently retired, Derrick Rose. Man, yesterday I saw a tweet. He announced his retirement from the NBA. I'm like, "Man, he was a good player." Of course, injuries derailed his career, like, he was a very explosive player before he destroyed his ACL, but obviously, despite that, he still made the impact on certain teams, like, when the Knicks first traded for him back in 2016, I was excited, like, him and Melo going like, together, like, trying to lead the Knicks to the playoffs, but obviously that season, Derrick Rose, he was suffering from injuries, the Knicks were not that good, like, there was a lot of problems with that team, and obviously, Derrick Rose, he did come back to the Knicks in 2021. I remember they traded for him, like, they traded away Dennis Smith Jr. in the 1st round to the Pistons for him, and it's like Derrick Rose, I'm not even I'm not gonna, like, say too much, but Derrick Rose actually is the reason why the Knicks changed, because basically him returning to the team a couple years ago, he basically changed the culture of the team, like, instantly, what he just made a better impact for the team. It's like the team just became better with him, with his leadership. Like, even ended up making the playoffs for the first time in, like, 7 ye well, maybe 7, 8 years when he first came on the team, and I was surprised, I was like, "Man, we could probably make a run at the playoffs." Well, obviously, they got destroyed by Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks, but nonetheless, Derrick Rose changed the culture. He changed the team to basically have a winning culture, like, he just changed everything. Well, even when the Knicks, like, got Brunson, it's like Derrick Rose still remained on the team as, like, a veteran presence, like, he gave mentorship to Brunson and Miles McBride and all the other players, and everybody loved having Derrick Rose around, so even though Derrick Rose is mostly known for his time for being a Chicago Bulls, I would never I would never forget him for being a New York Knick, like, always once a Knick, always a Knick. That's how I see it, so congrats to Derrick Rose, and I hope you make it in your next chapter of life. So, well, obviously, we have reached a conclusion of this podcast today. Well, it was a fun adventure talking with you guys, and next week, we're gonna be diving into the first preseason games and what are the expectations. And, well, this is your host, Michael Walters, reporting from WIUR. This is Mike Talks NY Sports. Have a good day.